I am actually here to not just ask you, but to urge you to follow the recommendations of a multi-year process and your historical commission and the Lower Merion Conservancy in doing what they have proven to you with respect to this property and the other properties that you have already put on the path to an upgrade to Class 1. Because if you do not do so, you will be setting what I think is an almost fatal precedent for this board. This board has gone through I believe it's a 6-year process to ascertain and determine what properties should qualify for the first step, for the first tranche of properties to be elevated to Class 1. Clairemont was one of the original 10. You took action on 9. This was tabled and brought back this evening, at least for further discussion and consideration. Since when do you allow amateur residents to supplant the view of your historical commission? Since when do people who know nothing about historic preservation feel that they have the right to tell you that this property is not important when your historical commission went through an exhaustive process with experts and consultants, of which the then board was a part, to let you know what the most important properties are in this township that require preservation, that meet the requirements of the elevation and the upgrade, and that require your attention? Since when do you allow a developer, and the school district in this case is a developer, make no mistake, whether it's the gentleman who's the equitable owner who wants to build residential property, or whether it's the school district, they're looking at the site as a development site. Since when do you allow such an applicant or proposed applicant or owner or equitable owner to tell you that your historical commission doesn't know what it's talking about because the building is run down and unimportant? The building is run down because the current owner, the Islamic Foundation, has been a remarkably bad steward of this property going back 20 years or more. Actually, frankly, they've been bad stewards of this property since shortly after they took ownership of it. That is not a reason to not understand how this property meets all of the requirements. So therefore, you have a very important choice before you, which is going to inform all the other owners of historic properties that could be eligible, how you're going to behave. And if you say no to Clairemont, be prepared to not take under consideration any of the other properties, because there will be a great argument that those owners may have that says, hey, there's an intended use, there's something else that we intend to do with the property, and it's run down and it's neglected, and think about how many other properties would fall under that classification. And then you are abandoning your dedication, which has been real and significant over the many years, to historic preservation in this township. So I appreciate the school district's dilemma, but I don't think that that dilemma should guide you in the very discrete determination about whether this should be a Class 1. And by the way, if it is elevated to a Class 1, it's still within your authority to determine later that the school district really does have no alternatives, and that on balance, maybe this historic property has to go so that the school district can do what it proposes. If you cut off the process now, you're going to end the fight for historic preservation in this township at the moment you do it. That's the reality.